Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha and it is so good to see all of you lovely people once again. In case you're new here, well, welcome. You've just tuned into that one show which will satisfy your hunger for both technology as well as automobiles at one place, which basically means why should you be watching two shows when you can watch one? This one. Now just like every time, there's a lot of action that we have to cover in this episode, so without any further ado, let's kick off the proceedings by first showing you a glimpse of what you can expect over the course of the next half an hour. This week we'll be taking you for a ride on BMW's latest cruiser motorcycle called the BMW R18. Then we'll also be taking a closer look at the premium Microsoft laptop offering called the Microsoft Surface 4. And we'll also dive into the world of racing as we find out more about Formula E and ZF's involvement in the Mahindra racing team. So there you have it, all of that action will be coming your way, and yes, the Citroën C5 Aircross is giving us company today for this episode. Now, cars like the Citroën C5 Aircross really stand out of the crowd, trust me, I know, because, well, I've been driving this car around for a few days now. However, if you want to do the same thing in the world of motorcycles, well, nothing really stands out as much as a nice chrome-laden cruiser motorcycle. Now, BMW has taken a shot at this segment and has come out with the BMW R18, which is loosely based, in terms of design at least, on the 1936 BMW R5. Now, that was an icon of a motorcycle, but in its modern day avatar, well, we got our hands on the bike, and here's how the experience went. Now, when you think of a cruiser motorcycle, chances are that you're thinking of a motorcycle that's big, heavy, difficult to manage around town, runs really hot, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. But chances are also that you're not actually thinking of a BMW cruiser because, well, BMW does things a little bit differently, and they've done it once again with this motorcycle right here. This is the BMW R18's first edition, the one that we are riding today. And this is one of those motorcycles that really speaks to your heart. Now, I've been fortunate enough to ride almost all new motorcycles that have been launched in the Indian market over the past so many years. But then comes a motorcycle that really aces what it is meant to do. Well, that is what the R18 is like. Now I'm going to start off this review with nothing else but the highlight of the motorcycle, the creme de la creme, which is the engine that it has. Now, it stands out for quite a few reasons. One of them is the fact that it is an 1800cc engine, and that is made evident by that little badge over there. So imagine yourself pulling at a stoplight with people all around you, gobsmacked at the motorcycle. The thing that they see is that 1800cc badge, and that expression, well, that is something that you need to experience. The other reason why it stands out is because, well, it's large, and that's because of the layout. But this engine is not all show and no go, because when it comes to riding, this is really nice. Now, BMW has been making boxer engines for their motorcycles since 1923, and this one is their biggest boxer engine yet. It sticks out on both sides, but it is only as wide as the handlebar, so you always have a good idea of how wide the motorcycle is. Also, you can corner as hard as you like, but you won't be able to scrape the engine. Trust us, we checked. The foot pegs, however, do scrape easy, as is the case with any cruiser motorcycle. The engine makes 91 horsepower and a massive 158 Newton meters of torque, which is delivered as low as 3000 RPM. As a result, the engine can be lugged around for days, and yes, it is very tractable, so just kick it in a high gear and you can ride around with minimum effort. The gearbox never missed a gear shift during our time, and shifting is not that big of a hassle either because just how surprisingly light the clutch lever is. As BMW engines go, this too is extremely refined and makes for several smiles under the helmet. But in this pursuit of refinement, the engine has not lost even an ounce of character. The sound, the raw feeling of it, everything is still there. So much so, if you rev the engine, you feel the motorcycle lean towards one side, and the same happens when you start the bike. And every single time, this will make you smile. Now once you're done pondering over the engine, you begin to notice the rest of the motorcycle, and once you do that, you won't be disappointed because everything that is done here is in typical BMW fashion. The paint, the fit and finish, the build quality, everything is top notch. And then there are some really nice meticulous design elements, like the fact that the engine, which is on display in all its glory, you don't see any wires or anything hanging around it. That doesn't disturb the look. And then there's some more. The design is a throwback to the classic 1936 BMW R18 motorcycle, which has been given a modern touch. This is the first edition variant, which gets a lot of chrome elements all around the motorcycle and also gets double striping on the fuel tank and the rear fender, which looks fantastic. Other classic styling elements include covered front suspension, the low and long stance of the motorcycle, and a hidden rear suspension, giving the motorcycle the look of a hardtail. But that's not it. The R18 also has an exposed drive shaft, which is so cool that it makes for some serious bragging rights. What also adds to the aura are the dual fishtail exhausts and the machined engine housing cover with the BMW logo on it that is clearly visible when you look at the motorcycle from the front. Now let's talk about what happens when you sit on the motorcycle, and once you do that, the view that you get is really remarkable. This is perhaps the most amount of engine that you can see of the motorcycle you are sitting on. Now, having said that, once you're on it, you realize just how comfortable this is. It's a really low motorcycle, so planting your feet on the ground, no problem at all. And comfort, well, it's a cruiser after all, so it's as comfortable as it can get. The handlebar feels natural, and the foot peg positioning, well, there's something to keep in mind. As you can see, it's not really that forward set as you would expect, say, from a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. But nevertheless, I never once felt the need that the foot peg should be more forward set because I was busy enjoying the motorcycle, and this is a very comfortable one. And a big factor that makes it so comfortable is the suspension and the chassis setup, which for me really pushes the R18 into a league of its own. It is set up so well that it can take bad roads with grace. And not once did I feel the urge to stand up on the pegs to avoid sharp bumps, because on this, you rarely feel any. It's way better in this department than almost every other cruiser that it competes with. Additionally, the motorcycle is tech loaded too. It comes with the likes of ABS, LED lighting all around, combined braking system, hill start control, wireless ignition, slipper clutch, and yet the bike has a sense of humor with its riding modes being called as rain, rock, and roll. Lastly, the ground clearance might not be as high as an ADV, but it never scraped its belly no matter how the speed breaker was. And the heat management on it is good too. Yes, being how big this engine is, it does get warm, but it never reaches a place where it would be uncomfortable. So you get the picture. It is real hard to fault the BMW R18. So to sum it all up, I'm going to keep it short. This is one of the best cruiser motorcycles that I have ever ridden. BMW has really knocked it out of the park with the R18, and they have set a new benchmark for all other cruiser manufacturers to meet up to. Having said that, if you have a budget of about 20-ish lakh rupees and you want yourself a motorcycle that really stands out and gives you a performance unlike any other, well, the BMW R18 is perhaps as good as it gets. Now let's move on to the world of technology and let's talk about laptops. Now, if you want to get your hands on a nice premium business laptop, chances are that you're looking at the Apple series of laptops, and you won't be wrong. Those laptops have really built a nice reputation for themselves over the years. But if you want to get yourself a Windows experience, one of the best bets that you can have is the Microsoft Surface 4 that's come out recently, and our in-house expert Shovik has got his hands on the laptop. He has some interesting things to say about the laptop, so I cannot wait to hear it. Let's check out together up next.
There are plenty of premium ultrabook laptops in the market, in the Windows space. So if you're looking for a choice, you'll be spoiled for options from Dell, HP and other manufacturers as well. But Microsoft also has a pretty strong hardware offering, and the Surface Laptop 4 is the latest one in this space. Now the Surface Laptop 4 takes a very Apple approach in terms of how it looks, in terms of its packaging and all other aesthetics. Along with that, it combines a fairly decent sheet of hardware specifications to give you a laptop that seems to be a pretty competent device in terms of your workspace. But does this Ultrabook make the cut in terms of its overall features as well as its price? Let's find out in our review of the Microsoft Surface Laptop 4. Now the first thing that we talk about in the Microsoft Surface Laptop 4 is performance. And on this front, the laptop comes with a fairly decent specification sheet. It features an 11th generation Intel Core i7 quad-core processor along with 16 gigs of DDR4 memory and a 512GB SSD. It gets the integrated Intel Iris graphics, and on overall terms, it is a pretty able laptop. Most things remain smooth, and in terms of work requirements, you can have two simultaneous browsers open with over 15 tabs on each. You can have a Word file open on the editing, and you can also have background music playing without any sort of hiccup. You can also have a video conferencing app open in the background or on the side in the multitasking view to make sure that you have plenty of things going on in the screen without the laptop being stressed out. It does get a bit heated because the panel of the laptop's body is made of aluminium, but on overall terms, performance remains smooth for the most part. That being said, there are a few surprising stutters that come along, and they are not stutters that will hinder your performance per se, but are just enough for you to notice, and in a premium Windows Ultrabook, this is something that you just cannot ignore. The next thing to note about is the 15-inch Pixel Sense display that has a rich resolution with 201 pixel density and 3:2 aspect ratio with touchscreen support. Now on overall terms, in terms of the overall quality, the display is really nice and it is pleasant to look at and offers really good colors. Touch support is pretty good as well, and it is responsive on overall terms. However, there is something wrong with the ambient light sensor, where even with adaptive brightness turned off and even with you selecting a manual level of brightness, there will be micro adjustments that the Surface Laptop 4's display appears to make, especially in low light conditions or in dark environments, and that is something that can really throw you off your game. You will be required to continuously manually continue to adjust your brightness, and that is something that can become pretty bothersome over time as you work, especially at night, or if you don't like to have too much light around your work environment. Now the Microsoft Surface Laptop 4's battery is something that is fairly impressive and holds up for most of the entire workday. Even with a hectic workload with video conferencing and plenty of typing, emails and documents to be handled, the Surface Laptop 4 lasts you through an entire 10 to 12 hour workday with one charge cycle pretty fluently. It's not something that you struggle to make ends meet, but you get there just fine. I'm not particularly fond of the proprietary Surface charger because it's not like the older Apple MagSafe chargers which just snap on, and it's something that's placed for me a bit awkwardly, so it's a little difficult to get the right spot as you try to fit the charger in haste, which requires a bit too much attention, and that is just not ergonomic. However, the Omnisonic speakers with Dolby Atmos certification, which give the sound from beneath the keyboard, sounds really nice and deep, and for laptop speakers it sounds quite good and impressive, and it is something that you would like to use for occasional entertainment usage. Finally, in terms of the overall build quality and design, the Surface Laptop 4 ticks most of the right checkboxes. It looks good, it looks smart, it feels like it's built to last, and at the same time it weighs just 1.5 kilos, which for a 15-inch laptop is actually quite impressive. The laptop on overall terms looks rather big, but the moment you pick it up you realize that it is light and at the same time very well built. It has plenty of palm rest, so in terms of ergonomics it does the job quite well, and the overall typing experience is quite good. The keyboard is well spaced out and there is no issues on that end. On overall terms, the design is simplistic and minimal, and for the most part we quite appreciate that. And in terms of Windows Ultrabooks, the Surface Laptop 4 is one of the best looking ones in the market. by our opinion. To sum up, does the Microsoft Surface Laptop 4 come across as a good laptop to have? Well, in one word, there's no denying that it is indeed a very good laptop to have. With a Core i7 quad-core processor, 16 gigs of RAM and a 512GB SSD with a very good 15-inch display in a lightweight yet durable and premium body, the Surface Laptop 4 ticks pretty much every check box if you want a super premium business Windows laptop. However, the variant that we have costs 1.78 lakh, and at that price you have literally an endless choice of laptops, including gaming laptops that come with far more powerful configurations than what the Surface Laptop 4 does. Even otherwise, you get plenty of premium ultrabooks to consider in the market, and on that terms the Surface Laptop 4 might not be the most value sensitive purchase, but in terms of premium laptop buyers, if you want an office laptop with premium looks and very good overall performance, the Surface Laptop 4 is indeed a good one to purchase.
Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha, and yes, this is the Citroën C5 Aircross that is giving us company today for this episode. Now, as promised, before going for the short commercial break, it's time to dive headfirst into the world of racing. Now, the world of racing really is the best culmination of technology and automobiles, something like the show that you're watching right now, if I say so myself. Nevertheless, Formula E is where the future of racing is set to be at, because that is the racing of electric vehicles. Now, in the Formula E, a big breakthrough has come once again as India has grabbed the first position at London Grand Prix. Now, we decided to get in touch with someone special at ZF, which is the company that is doing all the technological marvels behind the curtains at Mahindra Racing, and here's how that conversation went.
Hello everyone. At News18, we believe future of mobility is electric, and that is why most of our conversations with the top industry leaders revolve around the same topic. Today's discussion, however, is more than just electric. It's actually electric in motorsports, and to talk on it, I have with me Sasha Rekanek, who is the Vice President and MD at ZF Race Engineering. Hi Sasha, welcome to News18.
Hi together, and hello to everyone from News18.
So I'll start by asking you, what was the motivation of ZF to partner with Mahindra for the Formula E?
See, at ZF we have a very long history in motorsports. It's nearly 100 years now that we are into it, and we are always looking into new areas of innovation, new areas of where we can increase our footprint into motorsports and learn from motorsports to bring new topics into serious production. Mahindra is accepting us as a one-to-one level partner, means we are one team. Even at the race, you will see our people sitting there in the paddock in the race engineering team.
How different do you think is the Formula E racing as compared to the Formula 1? And do you think that drivers are interested to switch from regular motorsports to the Formula E technology?
Currently, it's a very different format from Formula 1, to be honest. The biggest change is we are using tracks which are not artificially built somewhere out in the skirts. We are using the normal road in a city. So that's a huge difference, because the track is not really well known by data. We are using roads which are used the day before and the day after by normal cars. So that's the first challenge we have, which is showcasing us real conditions. And that's very different in terms of how we drive. We have a common tires, for example, so there is no change of tires during the race. We are driving without a pit stop, so there is no chance to change anything on the car. Why we are doing this, we want to showcase the technology and what is capable about that technology. And that's the format which is asking for energy management during the race. So like in a combustion engine where you look at your fuel consumption, we are looking at the energy management. and that is controlled by the race control, means you need to recuperate during the race, otherwise you will stop just in front of the target line. Of course, in the beginning it's a strange thought for the drivers, to go in a car, there's no noise there. But at the end, it's a similar feeling for them, and of course, what is very interesting for them that an electric car has much more acceleration, from the first second on,
Right.
In the first moment. So that makes it, from a racing point of view, for a driver, very, very interesting.
Electric technology or electric powertrains are relatively new as compared to the ICE engines, and nobody would have thought that racing on an electric powertrain. What made it possible?
I mean, it's nearly as similar as if you look at a phone. Would you have ever thought that there's a phone without a cable on it, and you can speak via Bluetooth? So the similar development we are going through in automotive. I mean, we need to look into the environment, which is requesting us to change our thoughts, which is of course CO2 neutrality, which is a clean and lean supply chain. And therefore, we were also driven from the society and the politics into a new direction. And looking at the technology we have available, of course, racing is also possible on an electrical side. What is missing here in the beginning, and that's more emotional topic in the mindset, is of course there's no smell, there's no sound.
Right.
So that is something which hit us hard in terms of our hearts, as pure racers. So I would say the biggest step for us was the emotional part, to change our mind and accept that there is a new form, a new way of racing.
Right.
And Formula E is exactly expressing this by having not the races on racetracks, but going into the city, showcasing the people that you can make it lean and clean in a city.
How different is actually an electric powertrain on a racing car than the actual road vehicle?
It's a little bit different in the sense of the requirements towards the car. I mean, we need to run 45 minutes in one lap, whereas a normal car should run much longer. But in principle, the functionality is similar. We are recuperating. We are charging during the race, and we have energy management on board. So it's not that the drivers can go high speed as they want. They need to look that they also save their energy, which is similar to on-road vehicles. Exactly, this engine is far too small, and it's made to have lightweight on board. It's made to be very compact to fit into an e-race car. So that would not be the target for a normal series.
Thank you for talking to News18.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. How did you find the show? Is there anything you have to say, anything you want us to cover, or simply want to have a conversation with us? Well, reach out to us on Twitter. We're more than happy to talk, and that is where we're at. If it's about technology, News18 Tech is where you have to tweet to. If it's about automobiles, tweet out to us at News18 Auto. And remember, by logging on to news18.com, you can read more on both these industries, as well as all about the new Citroën C5 Aircross SUV. Now, having said that, there is one small message that I have for all of us and you, our lovely viewers, which is the fact that the coronavirus pandemic is really coming closer than ever. So it's time to stay safe. Stay indoors, maintain social distancing, don't really step out unless it's absolutely necessary. Wear masks, sanitize your hands. Now, you are familiar with all of these things. We've been doing that for the past year and a half. Feels like forever. I know, I'm in the same boat as you. But it's time to do those things once again with full honor that we can do to this service. Having said that, stay safe, stay as healthy as you can be. I'm bringing the show to the close now. Thank you very much for watching. I'm your host, Manav Sinha. I'll see you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.